talking about the DISC series. We're talking about your personality. What's inside of you? What makes you tick? We use a really simple tool called DISC, D-I-S-C, and this is our time to talk about
S's. S stands for steadiness, and it is the biggest group of people. Actually, nearly 2/3 of humans have S as their primary personality strength. S, like I said, S stands for steadiness. When I do trainings on this, I actually like to show a picture of a Labrador Retriever with a little girl leaning on top of it. Little 3-year-old girl. The Labrador is sitting there serving quite happily as a little
stool.
A chase lounge for a toddler. It's actually a really sweet, charming picture, but it really gets to the core of what the S does more than anything else. The S builds connections between people. A wise man once said S's are the glue and the oil in an organization because they're the folks that keep people connected, and they're also the folks that
make sure we don't have too much friction.
Yeah, exactly. They keep things mellow, they keep things cool, they keep things smooth. S's, they tend to be your quieter personality types. They're the most opposite and different from your D's. And they're not people who want the spotlight necessarily, although you might be an S and you might like being on stage. That's okay, but that is not the most frequent manifestation of S personality. They tend to be quiet. They tend to be a little bit more passive, slow to act. They tend to not love change. Steadiness doesn't like change. Your D's and I's love change. They can't help but change things. But S's, they like things to be pretty mellow. And S's love to listen. S's are great counselors. And in fact, if you're an I and your best friend is an S, well, God likes you because the two of you can go out for coffee and the I can talk for 45 minutes, the S can talk for 15, and you'll both go home feeling completely understood because you have got what you need out of the relationship.
Well, so one of my favorite humans in the whole wide world is an S, and that's my mama. My mom is an S, and so I grew up with an S, so I feel really familiar and comfortable with S's. S's, some stories about my mom that are world famous now is, firstly, she is the glue of her entire family. We all kind of wait for my mom to talk, and when she finally talks, that's what we're going to do because she really doesn't talk until pretty much everyone else has talked in a room and in a group. But one of the stories that we all love to share that has become world famous around here is that she took weeks and weeks to pick out a vehicle when she was going to buy a car.
Actually, 7 months. She visited the car dealers about 15 different times, the same dealers multiple times, test drove the same cars several times because she really wanted to make a good decision that she felt safe with.
And she's one of those people that really, fairness is very important to her. She's very clear that each one of her grandchildren needs a certain amount of attention and time, and so she's very good to make sure that she attends an event for each one of her grandchildren. They all get equal time, equal at Christmas, equal type presents, even though they're all different and they're all very unique to that individual. These are all things that definitely represent and will make you very fond of the S's in your life.
Most S's have a lot of friends and very few enemies because they don't like to do things that are going to hurt other people's feelings. S's also hate conflict. It's probably the worst thing in the world to an S to have to say to somebody, stop that, it's bugging me. For a D, for an I, easy peasy. It doesn't take any energy out of us to say, hey, that doesn't work for me, you stop that. But for an S, like my son, who's an S, it takes him so much energy to say, please stop doing that even if it's like something small and insignificant, and for my son to ask you to stop it, he's practically in tears trying to do it. He can do it, but he needs a nap afterwards.
Often the times S's do have really good senses of humor. They have discovered ways that are deflecting that kind of conflict. So in our son's situation, he has developed his sense of humor. So last night, he wanted to basically let his parents know that what we were doing was not working for him. He came down and we were disagreeing about something in the kitchen, and he hates our conflict. He hates us having any sort of conflict. Coincidentally, we were arguing about him and his schedule and if we were going to be able to do something for his schedule. But anyway, so we were arguing, and he walked down, and because he didn't like it, he wanted to confront us, but he didn't want to do it in a way that would feel like confrontation. So he went ahead and used humor. So he's like, "Oh, good job, Mom and Dad. You've only been home 4 minutes and you've already figured out how to fight." So you're hilarious.
Translated, you're really scaring me and hurting my heart.
And can you stop?
Please stop fighting
now.
right now. That's the translation. So that is a great example of how S's will do get past their conflict avoidance to an actual expression of what they need, but it's a subtle. And if you're not paying attention to the cues, you can miss it. Mm-hmm. Now, an S might be unhealthy and repress their conflict and their needs so much that they will stay in a bad situation for too long. But that's not what we're talking about right there. That's something that an S probably needs to go get some help with. Mm-hmm. But we're just talking about how an S just doesn't like it to begin with. I don't want those veggies on my plate, so I'm gonna hide them and eat the potatoes and hope nobody sees that I didn't eat my peas. That's what I'm talking about. So if you're an S, you really are the glue wherever you are.
Now, just like we said about D's and we've said about I's and we'll say about C's, each one of these isn't inherently good or inherently bad. Right. What it is about is how your heart interacts with these and how you choose to interact with your world. So just like Eric was saying, there's unhealthy versions and healthy versions of an S, just like every other personality. But the transformative moment comes for an S when they realize they're just as powerful as any other personality. And a lot of their power comes from their connections with other people. That their connections with other people, that they're able to they're the neck that turns heads because people are connected to them, care about them, and actually don't want to see them hurting or in conflict. And so they will move in order to work with an S. So our son, my mom, other S's in our lives end up being very, very powerful in our world, not because they are the big personalities like we talked about with the D's and the I's, but that they have such deep and honest and real connections with people that people love them and want to do what makes them, the S, happy.
Exactly. The D's and the I's are kind of your thermostats. They're the ones that'll set the temperature in the room more often than not. Your S's and your C's, but especially your S's. And again, they're 2/3 of the people in the world are your brightest and most clear thermometers. So if you have an S in your life and they're showing you that face that looks like they're in pain, pay attention to it because there's real meaning there. If you are an S, show that emotion. Let the reality of you being a thermometer communicate to the people around you what you need, because chances are, without you communicating it, people will continue to do something that won't work for others. Sadie's a D, I'm an I. We don't like hurting people. We want to be a blessing and a positive force in folks' lives, and it's the S's in our lives that help us stay on track to do just that. So if you're an S, we love you. Mwah. We're grateful for you. At Compass, this is a great place for you. And
you are powerful.
You are powerful. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks.